guys, and welcome back to I forgot to change my shirt. There we go. That's better. Megazord. Alright, because we're talking about Power Rangers today. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should because I talk about geeky things. And today we're going to be talking about Power Rangers, and I really wish I knew where my Goldar shirt was because we are talking about my favorite Power Ranger lackeys. Now, when I talk about Power Ranger lackeys, I definitely want to emphasize the fact that these are the ones that I look at as the second in commands. Your Goldars, your Ritos, your Fraxes, things like that. This video will come with some spoilers, just FYI, because sometimes part of the reason why I love them is because of their entire story arc. I'll be nice this time and put spoiler tags up so you can watch the video until the spoiler happens. So let's just do it that way. So this is gonna be my top 10 of my favorite lackeys in all of Power Rangers, and I am curious to know whether or not you guys agree or disagree with my choices. Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys want to make a similar video, please do, and tag me on Twitter with a link to the video so I can see your top 10 favorite Power Ranger lackeys, Power Ranger villain lackeys as well. Number 10 on my list is Zeltrax from Power Rangers Dino Thunder. He's got an interesting story, and this is going to be a similar story in a future part, but I feel like that part was just done a little bit better. But I really like Zeltrax's story. I love the fact that Zeltrax is essentially born out of this resentment that Smitty had for Tommy for all this time, and it just built up and built up, and when he had to be rebuilt as a cyborg, I just think it's a really cool story. And at the end of the day, I remember watching Dino Thunder. I think I was a junior in high school when that one came out, and I watched it as it aired. That was one of the ones I did watch while it aired. I remember thinking, okay, so we got a cool redemption story coming up because we've done redemption stories in the past. We've done redemption stories since. And so I was thinking in my head that maybe, just maybe, this will be a redemption story. And it wasn't. And I love the fact that it wasn't a redemption story. Just because it could be a redemption story doesn't mean it's going to be, and doesn't mean that it should be. Because not everybody is savable. Sometimes the hatred in your heart just becomes too much for you to ever truly let go of that hate. And I just think that that was such a cool story to tell. And so the fact that Zeltrax was destroyed in the end, I think was actually very poignant without it being a redemption story, because redemption story is actually kind of easy to go with. And granted, I was a junior in high school, hadn't studied film yet, so I didn't have the knowledge that I have now of how to dissect films and things like that, or dissect television shows. That same concept, just on a shorter scale and a little different, just because obviously television shows have elongated storylines. Either way, Power Rangers is essentially just a short movie in one with an overarching storyline. Yeah, so I thought that that was such a cool way to go about it, and I really love the character of Zeltrax. I think he was very well designed. Good job, Sentai. And we're not going to talk about Dino Charge. Are we? No, we're not. For this reason and in the future part of the video. Number 9 on my list is Dark Honda from Power Rangers in Space. So this was one of the things I was very excited about watching Mega Ranger 4, and that was the Sentai counterpart to Dark Honda. I loved Dark Honda when I was a kid. I was actually terrified of him. He was really, really creepy, but he was creepy in a cool way. I was just legitimately interested in Dark Honda. I thought that he was really cool. The fact that he was the one that kidnapped Corone, and the fact that, you know, he was the one kind of being this puppeteer, really. I mean, even the fact that he's the one that defeats Dark Spectre in the end, like, it's so cool. Just such a cool story. And I loved the fact that it was so different from the Sentai, just because he dies in the Sentai a lot sooner than he dies in Power Rangers in Space, and I just think that's really cool. And I really liked the arc that character had. I thought he was a cool design. I thought he had a great actor portraying him. I just think that everything about Dark Honda was just really cool, and I really, really loved Dark Honda. It's part of the reason why In Space is one of my favorite, is my favorite season, is Dark Honda, and then another reason, storyline wise and character wise. It's just anyway. Number 8 on my list is Frax from Power Rangers Time Force. For those of you guys who know about Time Force and Dino Thunder, you will know that this is the one that I was referencing when I was talking about Zeltrax, and that is Frax. So Frax, his story actually touched my heart. Like, his story actually affected me. Granted, I was an adult when I finally got to see the entirety of Time Force. I did watch it sort of off and on while it was airing when I was a kid, or I think I was actually technically a teenager at that time. I think I was 13. Maybe I was 14, something like that. But I would only watch it when it came on. I didn't like seek it out, essentially. I just watched it if I caught it on. And so I really didn't get the wholeness of Frax's story until I got back into it in 2000, until I got back into Power Rangers in 2013. Frax's story is just so depressing. He's just this human scientist who happens to just like have this hatred for mutants and then has to work for mutants. And what I liked about his storyline specifically was the fact that he was putting on this persona of this just mindless robot when it came to Rancic and Nadira. But in all reality, again, kind of like I said about Darkonda, he was really the one pulling the strings. And when he went off on his own, he actually was, in most cases, more successful than Rancic and Nadira at trying to defeat the Power Rangers. And I just think that Frax's story is so cool. And then where he kind of has this moment of reconciliation, this moment of redemption in the end, and then is turned into a mindless robot for real. So when I was watching Time Force with my mom, and we got to that part, that scene, with Nadira and Frax, both my mom and I were crying. And I had already seen it like twice before that, because I watched Time Force in 2013, and then I rewatched it not too long ago, and then I watched it with my mom just recently, and I have cried every time I've come across that scene. And my mom was like weeping. Like, I have never seen her cry due to Power Rangers before in my life, and there she was crying from Power Rangers. And it's just such a cool story, such a cool end to the story, in a very different way than Zeltrax's was an end. It just was so good, and I love it. I love Frax. I think that he's one of the coolest, obviously, one of the coolest lackeys in Power Ranger villain history. Number 7 on my list, we're sticking with the same series, and we are going with Nadira. So Nadira, she is an acquired taste. So Nadira is great. I do like Nadira a lot. It took me a couple of watch throughs for me to really appreciate Nadira as much as I do now. Sometimes overacting, and purposeful, at least overacting. That's exactly what the actress is doing, is purposefully overacting. And when it's purposeful, it's not so bad, but it's still sometimes hard for me to like be okay with. I don't like overacting personally as much, even if it is purposeful, but that is completely my opinion. It's not that I think that they're a bad actor. Sometimes to be a good overactor, you have to be an amazing actor. And she really does do the overacting very, very well, to the point that it just is so beautifully cartoony, and it's just incredible. So many props to that actress. I adore her, and I hope that when I go to Power Morphicon, I will be able to meet her and tell her that I just think she's incredible, because I just think that she's one of the best actors that has ever come across a Saban season of Power Rangers in Power Rangers history. Whether it is original Saban, which is what Time Force is, or neo-saban, she's probably one of the best actresses to walk across a Saban set, and I just think she's incredible. But Nadira's story of being blindly evil because she was raised that way, and then realizing that she didn't understand why they were fighting humans, why they hated humans, why mutants and humans had to hate each other. And then she started developing like feelings for humans. I mean, so far as falling in love with Lucas to an extent. Obviously, they walk off together in the sunset, so obviously something happens between the two of them. But she falls for Lucas at one point, and she is able to start understanding that humans are not evil, and that humans think that mutants are evil, and mutants think humans are evil, and it's just not the way it should be. And then when she saves the baby, first of all, I don't know who's leaving a baby during an attack in a stroller all by itself. I gotta question the parents' judgment on that. Walking my baby down the street, ooh, an attack, I'm gonna forget about my baby in the stroller and go running away. Now, granted, the parents, I guess, maybe have died. I don't know. They never, like, explicitly express humans dying in Power Rangers, kind of. I mean, there are obviously a couple, but that's a whole different conversation to have. At least not civilians. I mean, these cities are destroyed on a daily basis, and they never talk about death tolls. They never talk about any of that, but when it comes to civilians. So obviously there is something weird with those parents. But either way, she saved the baby, and she was finally able to express the fact that she didn't hate humans, that she actually liked humans, and she wanted to continue liking them and trying to convince her father of that. And then of course she's able to, and just her whole arc is just so beautifully executed from the beginning to end, and I just adore Nadira a lot. Number 6 on my list is Taniya. Now I know she comes with 2 separate numbers. It has been a minute since I watched RPM, so I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. Taniya 7, Taniya 14. Is it 7 then 14? I just know her as Taniya because that's what I call her, because that is just what I call her, because she gets 2 different names throughout the course of the series, and it's fine. But Taniya, again, her whole arc is just so cool. You know, the fact that you're introduced to her like she is just this robot created by Venjix, and that's all she is. It's all she's gonna be. And then you find out that that is not entirely true, that she is actually a human turned kind of cyborg, just like Dylan. And then you find out that she's Dylan's sister, which of course is reminiscent to Astronema and Andros, but I digress. That's one of the reasons I love RPM. It's one of the reasons it's my second favorite season of all time. It does mirror In Space a lot, and I love it, and it's just done so beautifully. And just that whole arc of wanting to save Taniya and officially like make her be like Dylan, where kind of they've got their own, they got control over their own selves, and of course in order to do that they have to just destroy Venjix. And then of course her redemption in the end is just absolutely beautiful, and I love it. Taniya, I love her. She's amazing. Number 5 on my list is Zanaku. So Zanaku is a Lackey you only get halfway through the season, because it turns out he's not actually an org, and that's obvious because we need a 6th Ranger. So Zanaku, I love Zanaku's whole story, and that's why I went from Zanaku being like my favorite character, because I didn't have a favorite Power Ranger, so Zanaku was kind of my favorite character, and then it just evolved into Merrick being my favorite character. And not because he just was Zanaku, but because I liked that whole arc. This was another one that I watched as it aired on television, and even back then I absolutely loved that arc. Before I knew anything about film criticism, I loved that arc, and I thought that arc was so well done. And now, having studied film criticism, I love it even more because it's so well executed in a season that is not well executed in general. It's not one of my favorite seasons. As you guys might remember, I'm thinking about doing an updated video on my favorite Power Ranger seasons, because I've been rewatching some of them that I haven't seen in 5 years, or like finishing Lightspeed Rescue eventually, so I would like to do an updated version of that at some point here in the future, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna look that up eventually. We're gonna figure that out. We're gonna order things properly. So, but yeah, Zanaku I think was just such a well executed story of him being this org, and then finding out he's not, finding out he's Merrick. Obviously it's a very short storyline, because once the 6th Ranger comes along, obviously the Zanaku storyline is gone. But I love at the end when Merrick is still being haunted by Zanaku. I love that so very much. Number 4 on my list is Coreg from Power Rangers Mystic Force. This is much like Zanaku. We only have Coreg for half of the season, because obviously it is actually Leonbo, and Leonbo becomes kind of a Power Ranger later on. And I love Coreg. I liked the fact, and now granted, I will say that the true identity of Coreg was spoiled for me before I watched Mystic Force. So that being said, I watched Mystic Force knowing what I was facing. So what I tried to do last time I watched Mystic Force was trying to watch it through the eyes of my mother, who did not know that Coreg was Leonbo. Was trying to watch it from that perspective, and I was just so confused, because he was this bad guy that fought for honor, fought for justice, fought for, you know, all this stuff, and I'm just like, why? And then realized because they were obviously trying to make it clear that it was Lee and Bo. From the beginning, they were telling you that it was Lee and Bo, and I love it. I just love Coreg's whole existence, and he's just incredible. Just an incredible character, and incredibly well, like, executed. It's no mystery that I love Disney seasons. It's no mystery that I love Disney seasons more than most Saban seasons. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Number 3 on my list is Ecliptor from Power Rangers in Space. So Ecliptor. I love Ecliptor. Again, it's like this whole story arc. So Ecliptor was another one that I was really excited to see in Mega Ranger because well, obviously the Sentai counterpart. Because I really liked the character and I was curious as to how the character happens to have things added to his body later in the season, knowing that the storyline is not the same at all. Because I didn't know much about the storyline, but I did know that it was very hard to create the Power Ranger season based on the Sentai, and it was just very, very interesting. And I loved how Ecliptor was kind of taken on this fatherly role with Astronema. The only thing that I would have changed about Ecliptor's story, and maybe the only reason he's as low as he is because of the fact that he shouldn't have been destroyed in the end. I feel like he should have been one of the monsters redeemed in the end, like Rita and Zed. I feel like because there was good in him, because of the fact that he cared so much for Astronema, he had love in his heart, obviously. And so I wish that he would have been able to been redeemed in the end, and I hope that someday the Astronema, or Corona, just rebuilds Ecliptor. Number 2 on my list is Rito from Power Rangers Season 3. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3. Rito was really a cool story, and I mostly love him with Goldar. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, they took Bulk and Skull, made them monsters, essentially, because they were the Bulk and Skull of the bad guys, and I just love Rito. There's not much else to say. He also destroyed the Megazord, so obviously pretty strong. And number 1 on my list, the reason I wished I still had my Goldar shirt is because my favorite Lackey in all of Power Rangers history is Goldar. And Goldar I'm okay with having been destroyed after In Space. It's fine. But I love Goldar. I love how he was menacing in the first season, kind of a doofus in the second season, then became Bulk and Skull in the third season with Rito, and then carried on that Bulk and Skull season kind of thing throughout Zeo as he would appear, and then of course not appear at all in Turbo, and then finally appear once again in Space, but really didn't have much of a role at all. But yeah, I love Goldar. I just love Goldar. I will always love Goldar. He will always be my favorite, and I'm going to have to rebuy that Goldar shirt because I need it. I need it in my life again. There you guys have it, my top 10 favorite Lackeys in all of Power Rangers history. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, or make a video and tag me on Twitter, and I will see you guys all next time. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because I talk about geeky things like this all the time. I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Oh, one more quick announcement. I'll be doing, actually, by see you next week, I mean see you next Monday, when I start doing episode reviews of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, so stay tuned for that. I'm very excited to talk about Beast Morphers more, and that is all. I'll see you guys all Monday.